Do I have a notepad? Yeah. Okay. For the Roselle. Okay. Okay. I didn't think it was scowling. That's just a. Oh, there you go. Okay. Oh, sorry. Let me pull that back a little bit. It is 5 o'clock. We will call the March 21st, 2024 Planning Commission meeting to order. Sean, would you like to do roll call?
Jenny Gray. Here. Dale Cole.
Here.
Bobby Plummer.
Here.
Marcia Gretner. Here. Jason Roberts. Absent. David Fisher. Here. Lori Pritchett. Here. Jake Martin. Here. Terry Nett. Here. And Forum.
Thank you. So all of you were sent a copy of the last month's minutes. If you've had the opportunity to read, if so, do I have a motion to approve the minutes, or do we need any changes?
I make a motion that we approve the minutes as presented.
A motion by Kennan, second by Marcia. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously, 8-0. So now we're going to open up the public hearing as a request by George Roselle at 4118 South State Road 103, Newcastle, for a commission-approved use for approval of an event venue. So, Mr. Roselle, we will give you, and I will go over and get your presentation going. And Tom, you'll have to remind me. I do apologize. 10 minutes. It's a 10-minute presentation. You will have 10 minutes to present your proposal. And I'm going to step away to get your presentation up on the screen real quick. So if you want to go ahead and come up to the microphone. If the button is red, just press the button until it's green.
You can pass those out if you want to pass those out to the members.
I can do that, sir.
These are just in case the PowerPoint doesn't work.
Just in, okay.
He has a presentation.
Yeah. If you want to hit the button when it's time for him to go.
Yeah, as long as you get it started, I can do that. Is it like a PowerPoint?
Bobby.
Did it say Bella Vita? Is that what you're? Okay, thank you.
The name of our event venue is Bella Vita, owned and managed by husband and wife, George and Eileen.
Okay, so you're ready for it just to...
We moved to Newcastle from Texas after we saw the property and fell in love with it back in the fall of 2021. Our plan is to keep the house, barn, outbuildings, and land as original as possible. From day one, we have been working to improve the property and loving every moment of it. Our next step is to set the property on a path of sustained economic prosperity by sharing our Bella Vita, beautiful life, with others. We care about our neighbors and community. As homeowners and neighbors, it is important to us that we are good for our neighbors and our community. We suggest that our plans will meet these goals. We strive to improve the property without creating a commercial look. We live on the property and are very proud of it. We want to enjoy its beauty, and we want the community and our neighbors to do the same. When there is an event or not, we want the property to look like a normal home. The plan is to start off small and keep it that way. We will be hosting events that accommodate approximately 50 guests. We will have limited options on where the event can be held. Events can be held outside or in the lower level of the barn. Eventually, we will expand to the upper loft of the barn and subsequent rooms of the barn. Our first few events will be wedding ceremonies without receptions. Eventually, the venue will be available for wedding receptions, graduation parties, celebrations of life, retirement parties, birthday parties, anniversary parties, baby showers, bridal showers, engagement parties, etc. Here we see several views of the barn. One of the last things we want to do is have a large parking lot on our property. We do not feel like our neighbors or ourselves would like to see anything like that on the property. We have chosen to go with a permeable parking mesh. It is visually appealing, it radiates less heat, reduces water runoff. It allows the groundwater to replenish in that area and not run off onto the neighbors or into the street. And it allows for noise absorption. On the site plan, you'll see that there's a large parking lot proposed. This was not able to be changed before this meeting. Instead, you will see a red rectangle where there are 20 parking spaces. This is all the parking we will need. The parking will be accessible from the property and not from the street. Upon evaluation, it is felt that any entrance or exit from the street may cause hazard due to limited visual sight on State Road 103. The road crests just in front of the house, causing a visual impairment for oncoming traffic. In an effort to mitigate any inconvenience for our neighbors, we propose to plant trees along the shared property line with our neighbor. We propose to plant Thea green giant trees along the property line. These trees are fast growing, provide privacy for the neighbors, provides a sound barrier for the neighbors, visually appealing, hides the cars from the neighbor's view when parked, protection from car lights shining on the neighbor's property and in the windows. We will have 2 porta potty restrooms on the property during event season. These restrooms will be decorated akin to the shown picture on the right. Customers can opt to have an outside service, bring in a restroom trailer, which is removed after each event. Noise can be a major factor. We do not want to inconvenience our neighbors in any way with loud music. One of the ways we hope to achieve this is by using directional speakers. Proper placement of the speakers will allow the music to be heard in a specific section of the barn and not outside in the direction of the neighbors. Also, we plan to put decibel meters at several areas around the property that can be monitored with computers or phone. To wrap things up, some important highlights. We will be keeping the events down to 1 event a week. This event will be held on a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. Our proposed season will be from May to October. Our hours of operation will be from 12 p.m. to 10 p.m. The math shows that basically we will only be open 3% of the year. Our site plan shows parking spaces for 50 cars, but we will only need 20 spaces. The permeable parking plan will keep the property visually appealing without adding an asphalt or gravel parking lot. We will not have large events. There is a niche for this size of an event venue. Presently, if you wish to rent an event venue, the cost is prohibitive with a smaller group of guests. We know that we can capture customers that are looking for something that will fit their needs in a small event venue. We will be using noise reduction speakers along with decibel meters strategically placed around the edge of the property near our neighbors. We wish to have a good relationship with our neighbors, whereas we will openly ask and accept their input. In addition, we wish for them to come to us with any concerns so that we might resolve them. Traffic concerns. We do not feel that 20 cars coming at a specific time and leaving at a specific time range will impact the traffic on State Road 103 or East County Road 400 South. Waste concerns. We will have a dumpster that will be hidden from view of our neighbors and guests. Property values. The event venue is basically hidden from view for 97% of the year. Additionally, we are taking important precautions to minimize our event presence during the use of the venue. Over the last couple of years, we have had family events once or twice a month at our location during the spring, summer, and fall. On average, we have 30 to 50 people attend. Over the course of time, we have not seen or heard any negative impact on our neighbors or community. My wife and I thank you very much for your time and attention and look forward to any questions and/or concerns you may have.
Sorry about that. I'm the technical guru here. Is there anything else that you would like to add to your presentation?
No, I just wanted to thank everybody for the opportunity to be here and I guess get involved with the county and Newcastle in a way that we think that we can benefit the county and the city at the same time. We're very honored to be here and thank you very much for the possibility.
Do we go to the questions from the Planning Commission first? So does anyone here on the board have any questions for Mr. Rosa? Kennan, looks like you do have some questions.
I've got a comment that this is more thorough than the average presentation that we have. You've addressed a lot of concerns and the usual questions that come up either from the audience or the Planning Commission. Knowing that area, you mentioned that the peak of, it's a hill there, and I know it's a dangerous intersection at 400 South. In fact, I was working on the airport, and there was a death of one of their employees when I was working on the airport several years back at that intersection of 400. So the height, the peak of that hill is directly in front of the entrance of the house, the entrance to this venue, or pretty close to it?
It's right there. The driveway is right there to where it slopes. It's at the peak.
Okay,
So you have a visual, you can see people coming in and out, and as you're on the road coming, you can see people that are about to enter and exit.
that would be my major concern.
Yeah.
And the fact that you've streamlined it and narrowed the parking lot from 50 down to 20, that is definitely a smaller venue than most of them that have come before the Planning Commission. Sound would be an issue if I were a neighbor, and it looks like you're addressing that. The porta potties, you're on well, right?
Yes.
Well water and septic.
Septic, but the septic's up at the house. We don't have septic at the barn.
Okay. And you're limited to parties of approximately 50?
Yes, sir.
But it probably does fit a niche because the other venues are larger than that.
Yeah, we think we can fill that niche pretty easily because I've talked to a lot of people. My wife works at the post office, and she's talked with a lot of people. And there are a lot of people that can't get into places because they can't afford them, and they're wishing for a smaller venue.
I have a couple questions.
Marcia's, hang on, Dale.
Dale,
Okay, go ahead, Dale.
How do you control how many people? You talk about a small amount of people coming. How do you control that, the size of the number of people coming?
Well, we'll have contracts that, you know, any wedding event venue is going to state how many people that they can, that they're available to have come, and the occupancy. And we'll just set our occupancy per contract, that they can only have so many people.
Anything else, Del? Okay, Marcia?
Will you be, oh, sorry.
There you go.
Will you be serving alcohol?
I will not be serving alcohol. It will be an option if they hire a licensed bartender.
Okay.
I will not be doing it. I need that layer of liability protection. So, yeah.
And then in the beginning of your presentation, it said something about currently 50, but you plan to expand?
We'll just expand on the different events that
Oh,
we
on
can
the
offer.
different event,
Yeah.
okay, I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. And then the trees, I'm not sure how you pronounce that. Truya?
Thea?
Anyway, the green giant trees, how long will they take to get to the height you want?
Supposedly, they're supposed to grow 3 feet a year.
3 feet a year, okay. And then how far are you spacing them apart to make sure that it's a nice, complete wall?
Well, you can do a staggered, or you can do them in line. If we do them in line, and it would be about 6 feet apart.
15 feet apart?
Yeah. And when I say 6 feet, it's 6 feet from the center of each tree.
Okay. And the well water that you have, will you be needing to use much of that for cleaning, or, I mean,
No, actually, at present, there is no water at the barn, at that location. It's all up at the house. So when we have washing stations, we will have water that'll be, you know, basically moved up there to be able to use for that. Until we can actually get a kitchen in that has a working septic and we run water up there, we won't have food service or anything like that.
okay. If you have neighbors that, let's say you do have a party, it's a graduation party and it gets kind of rowdy, et cetera, how are you going to be handling that so your neighbors are not?
Well, I have several ways that I've thought about that. I can get the decibel meters. I can also share that link with the neighbors, so that if it does get to a higher point and they see on their computer or phone that it is at a higher point, they can capture that and let me know, or call me right away. I will have it in a contract that they have to, that we are monitoring it, and they do have to keep it below a certain decibel. I don't know how much I can express how important it is to me and my wife that we are good neighbors. We don't want to live somewhere and be uncomfortable and hate to walk out of our house and confront a neighbor. They're our friends. We want to be able to see them and keep them happy too.
I think that's it for me for the moment.
Last question.
Sure.
Alcohol, are you set up for alcohol beverages? Like,
No, we would have, if they chose to do it, they would have a licensed bartender that would come in, and they would have to provide the alcohol.
Did I understand you're going to be living there? That's going to be your home?
Yeah, we live there presently.
So you'll be there on site pretty much?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I plan on every event. My wife and I will both be there. We'll also have probably a couple other people that would work for us part-time that would come in just to help out. One of the main things is to help with parking and monitoring the noise.
You spoke of decibels. Do you have a decibel level that's going to be in your contract? Because usually if it gets 60, 70, it's going to be annoying unless your trees are grown by then, and that'll be a...
Yeah, and I think the trees will cover a little bit and muffle a little bit, but I do want to make sure we do keep it down below proper decibel. I haven't had a chance to go out yet and test it, honestly, to make noise in the barn, set out the decibel meters and see how they sound. that is something I would do, and also in conjunction with my neighbors, I feel it would be advantageous for me to go to their house and say, hey, how does it sound? Is this too loud?
You start getting over 60, it'll probably start being a little
Yeah, yeah.
annoying to your neighbors.
Yeah. So once we come together and decide on a good decibel, we'll put that would be in the contract.
So are you purchasing the property to the north? Because when I pulled it up, somebody else owns that, or you're going to have an easement? You just haven't purchased that property yet for parking? Or is there an easement, or?
My father owns that.
Oh, your father owns that,
Yeah,
okay.
I bought the property from him that I'm on
Okay.
now. The property you're speaking of, he still owns it. I'm under contract to buy it just so, because he's an old age home, so it doesn't go to probate, but in all intents and purposes, just hadn't been changed over yet.
Okay.
I have one more question. That you said the cutoff time's going to be 10 PM?
Yes.
Okay. And you'll work real strict on that for your
Yes.
neighbors?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, does anybody else on the commission have any other questions? Oh, Jake, go ahead.
Have you looked into the logistics of, do you have those capabilities of adding another septic system on that property to handle a kitchen in the barn? Or is that just kind of more of a dream phase still?
That's still a dream phase. I'm trying to get through this step one first, and even if, come to find out, we are not going to be able to put in a septic, and we can't work anything out in that regard, then we'll still be in the phase one, and phase one would be fine. We don't have to go to that next step.
And Bobby, let me just confirm. So this is already zoned to do what they want to do. This is just a CAU, right?
Correct. Yes, that is correct.
I do have one more question. Sure. So will you have a caterer hired in the barn?
What, I'm sorry?
Will you have a caterer hired to provide food, or is a family or whatever, they bringing their own food, or?
Well, if it involves a kitchen where any cooking or cleaning is going to need to be done, we won't allow that until we're able to have a proper septic system and whatnot. But now, what we can do is people can cater in their own. That's nothing that we would do. We're just basically going to provide the space, the chairs, and the tables. If they want to get a caterer to come in that brings the food and takes everything out, they can do that, or a food truck.
Anyone else on the commission? Okay, thank you.
Thank
So
you.
what we'll do now is we will, is there anyone here that wants to speak for this project? And if so, we will open it up for 10 minutes at 3 minutes per person. Actually, I'll go 12 minutes, 3 minutes per person. It's divisible by 3. You want to speak for it? Absolutely. Come on down, and when you come down, if you would sign in your name and.
I don't need to sign into it.
No, we got you, yeah.
Thank you.
Uh-huh. And hang on one second. Well, dang it, hang on. I'm setting my timekeeper. Okay, there you go.
Hi, I'm Jane Frith. My husband and I, Daryl, live probably the closest to the property, and my major concern is noise.
Oh, wait, are you speaking for this project? Right,
Against.
okay, right now I'm going to pause you for right
I'm
there.
sorry.
No, you're perfectly
I
fine.
misunderstood.
That's okay. Is there anyone here that wants to speak for this project? Okay, we'll go forward now with those who want to speak
Sorry,
against.
I
That's all
didn't-
right, you're fine.
I didn't hear that part.
That's okay.
And I realize about the decimal meters and things like that, but my concern is that I work, my husband works, we have a disabled son that lives with us, and feel like we really have the time to be policing noise levels. And my son's room happens to be the closest to the barn of any of the other neighboring properties, except maybe the house across the street on 103. And that's, our major concern is that he's had trouble sleeping for years. And then my husband and I both get up very early in the morning to go to work. I work weekends. My husband works Monday through Friday. That way we can take care of our disabled child. And that's, was a major concern for us, is that the noise be kept to a minimum. I mean, there was some kind of a get-together, I think last summer, that, I could hear it, obviously, but I think it was like around a holiday or something, so I just kind of ignored it. And, I think my husband was off, so it didn't affect his work or anything. And that, we just want to be able to get our sleep so we can, be productive at our jobs and continue that. We've lived at our present address for 19 years and just, feel like we need to keep that noise level down in order for there to be, proper rest. And then the other concern we had is there's been so many accidents right there at that intersection that we're just very concerned about that noise, because say there is an accident, you're going to have sirens that's going to be waking my son up, and I just, would rather not have that happen. Of course, in general, not have it happen to anyone, but, just that noise in addition to other noise from parties and things like that. So those were my major concerns. And then, the unsightliness of porta potties. I'm not sure that I got the whole picture on how that would work. That's not very appealing to, because the area is kind of like, everyone has kind of a spacious yard. It's mostly quiet. All you hear is traffic, maybe the occasional dog barking, that kind of thing. That would, that would take away from kind of the area that we have and love and have stayed in for 19 years. That would make that very unappealing. Say that, we should, be forced to sell because of our health or something like that, that we wouldn't be able to maintain the value that we presently have in our home and our property. So that was the other concern that I had.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else that is here to speak against? And if you would sign in and then state your name.
Do I need to push a button or?
Is it green? It is the light green.
Nope.
Yeah, push the button.
Oh, it is green.
Okay.
Okay. Mike Wantz. I live on the north side of 400 South, across from the property. And our biggest concern is the traffic, as everybody else has been concerned about. With all the TS Tech and the Boar's Head traffic that we have, additional now, and then we have accidents there quite often. We just had one a few weeks back. So we're concerned about that, the extra traffic. And I like the idea of the permeable parking mats, because the drainage is an issue in that corner. Whenever it rains, we haven't had much rain lately, but that water stands in that corner of 103 and 400 South and drains down into across Frith's yard, and it'd be a concern if we had additional runoff from the parking area.
Thank you. Anybody else? No one else? Okay. I'm sorry, Tom, I've lost my order here.
I think we've come
I
to
think
a,
we've come to the conclusion. Are there any other questions from the commission?
You want to talk about the traffic?
I think that's one of the concerns.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that since the property basic mass shows that it'd only be open like 3% of the year, and you're only talking about 20 cars, you're not talking about the full year, you're just talking about the weekend, 6 months out of the year. I think that narrows it down pretty good to not be really a whole lot of cars and a lot of impact. In my mind, it may be to others, but to mine, it doesn't seem like it would be that big of an impact. And then concerning the water, I think he was in agreement with me that the permeable parking is best for the water runoff because it doesn't change anything. That mat's just there so the grass can grow up between it, and then the cars don't rut as they're parked in that area. And again, I know this wasn't part of it, but one of the great things about that permeable parking is that when there's no cars there, you just see grass.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
So everyone did receive the staff report. I'm assuming everyone has read the staff report. Unless there are any other questions, we'll go ahead and have Sean do the 3 questions. Oh, yes, go ahead, Jake.
we did. No, that was done a long time ago. I have some suspicion that as to why some of it was done, but none of it for bad reasons. It just happened that way to some extent. It may have had to do with setbacks at certain times, reduced setbacks with different changes in zonings. When you see RR going down that far south and in a lot of those areas, it appears at one point they just pretty much decided that everything in Henry Township should be RR if it wasn't already something else. I don't know that there was a concentrated effort to really look what some of the zoning should be. Most of this for a long time has been agricultural, of course. And with the exception of maybe a particular reason, all of the houses, with the exception of the subdivision down there, could have been built in A1 area. So how they ended up RR, I'm not sure. You'd be looking at an additional rezoning for that area. Yes.
Additional, a CAU plus an additional rezone.
Yeah.
Mhm. If you look at the map that Tom has in his office from 2014, I think that's about the time that
It
it
is.
happened.
Yep.
That most of Henry Township in that area was zoned RR. Okay, Sean.
Okay, so this is the 3 questions that you're all familiar with. So all 3 have to be answered in the affirmative and majority. Question 1, the proposed commission-approved use is to be located in a zoning district wherein such use may be permitted. Kenny Grant,
Yes.
Dale Cole. Yes. Bobby Plummer,
Yes?
Marsha Gratner,
Yes.
David Fisher. Yes. Lori Pritchett.
Yes.
Jake Martin. Yes. Terry Madden.
Yes.
Question 2, The requirements set forth in the zoning district in this section for such commission-approved use will be met. Kenny Gray,
Yes.
Dale Cole,
Yes.
Bobby Plummer,
Yes.
Marcia Gretner,
Yes.
David Fisher, Lori Pritchett, Jake Martin, Terry Manning.
Yes.
Third and final question. The proposed uses are consistent with the spirit, purpose, and intent of these regulations, will not substantially and permanently injure the appropriate use of the neighboring property, and will serve the public convenience and welfare. Kenny Gray,
Yes.
Dale Cole, Bobby Plummer,
No.
Marcia Gratner,
Yes.
David Fisher, Lori Pritchett, Jake Martin, Terry Manning.
Yes.
In the affirmative, and commission-approved use is approved.
You have your use. Congratulations. Okay, so now we will go into unfinished business, and I will turn it over to Tom. There you go.
Unfinished business, we looked at changing some rules of procedures, and I've made some modifications to those from what was last approved in 2020. Made some, hopefully, some improvements and some changes of things that we maybe shouldn't have changed. I think Sean may want to read those into the record.
Yeah, I'll get you. Actually, we'll get this one.
There's a correction. You left out minutes there. 3 minutes.
Okay.
Like that. So just to recap here, we're talking about the rules and procedures of the Henry County Advisory Planning Commission. How I would suggest we proceed tonight is this would be considered the formal reading of these rules. We're not going to make a decision tonight. However, since there are additional changes that were made from the last discussion, but I wanted to read these and let everyone know kind of what are some of the proposed changes, and then open the floor to discussion or wherever else the Planning Commission wishes to take this. I would also indicate that in our zoning ordinance, we have the authority to, let me read this into the record, that the text of the title of the official zoning maps may be amended from time to time by passage of ordinances duly adopted by the county commissioners upon the recommendation of the Planning Commission, set forth, and with the procedures set forth here and with Indiana Code. All amendments to the title will be in conformance with the laws of the state of Indiana, and we are one of those bodies that are entitled to initiate amendments, and that we are an advisory planning commission serving a single local jurisdiction government established and defined under Indiana Code 36-7-1-2. And that our rules should be consistent with our other local ordinances. So with that being said, under the rules of procedure, the proposed changes are as follows, and you all should have a copy, a red line copy. If you don't, raise your hand. Does everybody have a red line copy of the changes? Missing one? Okay.
He's got one.
Everybody has that. Okay, so on that first page there, under Article 3 duties, Section 2 would strike out the words, quote, and to common councils of all participating municipalities. Then down to 4 would strike the language, quote, or the respective town council. On the second page, it would add a number 5 there. If a petition for a zoning map change is made for any parcel under the jurisdiction of Henry County Planning Commission and is within the corporate boundary of a town, the town council of that town shall review the request for rezone. A statement stating the position of the town council regarding the request shall be attached to the application for rezone. A copy of the minutes of any town council meeting where the subject regarding a rezone request will be submitted with the application to the rezone, and the shall accompany an application for the rezone. Then further down on 10, it adds language that regular monthly meeting will be held at a time and date established for an upcoming year at the December monthly meeting, and strikes the word secretaries and adds zoning administrator. Number 13 adds the words, and there is no old business or new business to reconsider, or to consider, sorry. Number 15 strikes the language, quote, and shall have the authority to act as president during the absence of disability or of the duly elected president and vice president. So that's number 15 is related to the secretary position there. And then on page 3, it strikes the language, the commission shall elect a successor to complete the remainder of an unexpired term at its regular meeting. Includes adds the language, a replacement member shall be selected by the body that made that original appointment, or the original appointment. I'll turn to page 4. Under 4 there, and now we're under Article 4, proceedings. So Article 4, Section 4. At the end of that paragraph, it adds the words, quote, if such determination is made before the beginning of a meeting, if a meeting is canceled and publication of notice of cancellation would occur after the meeting would have been held, notice to the media need not be made. Number 5 adds to the end of that paragraph, if the publication of such notice can be made before the meeting is scheduled to convene. Number 6 adds the word quorum, by quorum of the commission. Number 7 strikes the number 20 and adds the number 30.
Could I intervene there?
Sure.
The word minutes after 30 was omitted, I think unintentionally.
Number 8 adds the costs incurred due to re-notification shall be paid by the petitioner. Number 9 strikes the number 5 and adds the number 10 under section 9 there on page 4. Page 5 remains the same. Page 6 remains the same. Page 7 remains the same. And that would be the formal reading of those changes, and we can make this available to the public as well. But this would just be a time if the commission wishes to discuss or take other action, but this is not necessarily the time to vote on these changes tonight. That would be at a next meeting if commission wished to do so.
Does anybody on the planning commission have any comments, changes, suggestions? Sure. Go ahead and, Sean, if you don't mind, give him that mic, yeah, so he has one. Do you have, Jake, some suggestions?
Yeah, I like the idea of keeping section 2 and 4 the original way that they're written. If we did that, we would then have to remove section 5 of the new proposal.
Which sections of what?
On page 1, he wants 2 and 4.
Sorry, Article 3,
Okay.
Section 2. I know we talked about it a little bit at the last meeting that, I feel like we are an advisory board, and, our efforts, I don't think can be diminished whether it goes to the county commissioners for final approval or a town.
And in my mind, it's inside the town limits, so it makes sense that they ultimately have the final say. So I like the way it's written. If that means we have to adjust other things to keep it in there, then that's the way I'd like to see it.
Anybody else?
I'm not sure I totally understood. I think the addition of 5 is a good thing. It coincides with the way we've done it, and it's given permission. It's given the town councils or the authority of whatever municipality, in our case it's towns, a say in a matter that most directly affects them, and in the past we've done that. So it says, if a petition for a zoning map change is made for any parcel under the jurisdiction of the Henry County Planning Commission and is within the corporate boundary of a town, the town council of that town shall review the request for rezone. A statement stating the position of the town council regarding the request shall be attached to the application for rezone. A copy of the minutes of the town council meeting where the subject regarding a rezone request will be submitted with the application of rezone. And that was not included.
And I also think there's been some confusion throughout this whole month. All town councils can have zoning ordinances that are stricter than the state or stricter than the county. So for a good example is, and this was just changed in 2020. These rules of procedures were just changed in 2020. A good example is we passed a chicken ordinance that R1, R2, R3 can have chicken ordinances, or chickens, excuse me. Strawn, their ordinance says no chickens, that means no chickens. I'm not sure about Louisville. I think what Spiceland's is, I think Spiceland has a no chicken policy or chicken policy, I don't know. But they can have it stricter than ours. And the states, everything that was modified followed state statute, that was suggested to be modified follows state statute and follows the ordinance, the zoning ordinance that was put into place whatever date that was. So there's been some confusion as saying that we're taking away the town's authority, because the town can have an ordinance stating whatever they want. It's just the rezone, which is those rezones have been taking place long before.
I guess I'm not.
And I know people are saying, but Bobby, that's not what you thought in 2016, 17, and 18. I never questioned a rezone, not one time. I didn't question a rezone.
I'm not confused on what my thinking is.
No, I'm not saying that I'm not saying you were confused. There has been some confusion out in the.
I look at it this way: if we are an advisor that those towns choose to look through these issues, and we make a recommendation, and I think that's a good thing.
Correct.
And then ultimately they want to have final say over it. Not any different than if I hired a financial advisor to look at my business. I want final say over it. I don't want the financial advisor and somebody else to make that call for me. So, I mean, if it's inside town limits, to me, it makes sense for that town to have the final say.
I see what you're saying, but then why don't they have their own, like Nicetown, and have their own planning commission, and then they have their own say?
Well, if they,
I mean, then they don't come to us and then go to the commissioners. We would just block this complete. We would stop being the middleman,
Well,
which I don't have a problem with them doing either.
that's probably the ultimate goal for any town, is to get to the point where they have some of these resources available in-house, but it's a service that we offer, right? And I guess we kind of keep it consistent in a way until they get big enough that they can handle it themselves, but they still are the governing body of that town. And I like the idea of keeping the power spread out a little bit, not just keep it concentrated in one area.
Okay. Anybody else?
So I'd make a motion to amend it by striking 2 and 4 out of Article 3 and removing 5.
You want to do a roll call?
Clarification. Your motion is to strike.
The red line, sorry, the added. keep them written the way they originally are.
Legality of that.
I'll get my language here right in a second, Kenan. We keep the line that is, got the red line through it in section 2. We keep the section in section 4 that's got the red line in it. And then we get rid of the red text of section 5 because it wouldn't be important at that point in time. Which, you know, in section 5, all we're doing is saying, you know, you could give an opinion, but it doesn't matter if your opinion's against what we want to do. I mean, we'll take it into consideration, but they can't stop or do anything. They're just reviewing it and saying, this is our wishes. We don't have to follow their wishes. You know, so that's why section 5 to me doesn't make any sense to leave it in there if we're going to remove those two or keep those two in.
Okay, go ahead.
And I think the motion needs discussion before we vote on it.
It does.
It does. Amendments to the zoning map in our code call for final approval by the commissioners, not by anybody else. So in order to add that as rules of order or rules of procedure, and it states that the rules of procedure should follow ordinances, we will have to change our zoning ordinance.
Which is something that probably should have been done in 2020 when this was adopted.
We've had modifications over the years to the ordinance, but to change that part, we could change it. That would take a long time. I don't know that would line up with state law because state dictates what we do as well. And
John, do you have the state statute, or Tom, either one?
I don't have the state statute with me. No, I don't have that with me, but we've looked it up.
I think it was referenced before when I read it in the record.
It was, yeah.
I'm sorry, Kenan, were you starting to look it up?
No,
Grabbed your phone.
one of the area town council members shared it with me, but it was like 3 weeks ago.
Oh,
And it might take me a half hour to find it
Yeah.
with all the other stuff I have on this, so.
Further discussion?
I'll discuss when it gets, you made a motion, didn't you?
I made a motion to amend it, and then it got seconded, and so now we're discussing the
I didn't hear the
amendment to
second, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Dale
So it is
seconded.
time for discussion. I personally like the point number 5. So anyway, I think the perception is we were trying to take away any input from the respective town councils, and I think we've always been open to hearing their input. Now, sometimes I don't know if they're aware that something that's going to affect them unless they read the papers or are notified by someone here, or the planning commission, or zoning administrator, or it's in the paper.
I know that when somebody comes to Tom or the zoning administrative office, he suggests that they contact the town council. I know that happened in Mount Summit for the liquor store. I believe you requested that they go. So I do know that takes place, but I think it should be spelled out in the rules of procedures that notification and or meeting with the town council.
Anyway, I like number 5.
You can amend my amendment.
No, I can't do that.
He can.
Well, you can,
No, I think
but we have already got a
But the reason why
yeah.
I say if you pass my amendment, number 5 doesn't have any meaning.
I agree with that statement. I'm just saying I like number 5, so I wouldn't mess with parts 2 and 4 of Article 3. That's just me.
I like number 5 because if you recall, there was a lady that wanted a dog business in Middletown. And she did come to us and we said, you're going to have to go right back to you as the town council for your final decision on that. And Sulphur Springs, I think it was Ag One wanted to move out of town and build a new building, and as a team, the Planning Commission, Tom and our town board president and Ag One worked together as a team. So I do think we need to have a really good communication with the towns. And ultimately, Sulphur Springs annexed additional land for them to do that. So since I've been on this commission, we have really worked as a team with many of these different towns. Do you find that different, or?
We've had several things that have been sent to us for final approval.
Yeah.
And in each case, we approved the recommendation plan.
But I mean, we're working as an advisory, we're working as a team with the town. So I like number 5. So
And for the most part, the commissioners, it's not adversarial between the commissioners and the planning commission. I don't know that the commissioners have, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, because sometimes, I don't get everything correct. I don't know that we have gone against, the commissioners in the 3 years that I've been here have gone against anything that the planning commission has done.
I think just the solar ordinance, there was a disagreement over that recommendation,
I
but
forgot about that one, thank you. Or that we don't take the town's, what the town is doing in consideration. Like I did state before, the town of Spiceland, you can have your zoning ordinances stricter if this property, and I believe it was against, what brought this up was the property that got rezoned, that Raj purchased out by north of Spiceland. I believe that is what this is about, or it's been my understanding that that property is what this is about. If they're coming to you and saying they want to put in a nuclear station and your zoning ordinance says no, then your zoning ordinance, whether we approved it to be an RR or an Ag 1 or general business or highway business, then your ordinance supersedes any of the zoning. So nothing is being taken away from the town, because you control, even based upon that zoning, what your town will allow come into your town. We have no say. All we're doing is zoning, whether it's general business or Ag 1. It does not take control away from the town as to what can go in. You control that. Any town controls that. Absolutely, you can come up and speak.
can I intervene?
But I will say we're going to follow the same rules as always, 3 minutes.
You're getting a little bit off the path.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm
I
sorry,
do- I
I'm just going to
apologize.
say that I have to leave because
Okay.
I'm president of another meeting that starts in a minute, and I'm going to be late.
Well, you're presently discussing among the commission members.
Well, that's true too, and I do apologize because we did, so in fairness, because I've been on the other end of it, in fairness, I will allow Darren, come on up and you can speak for 3 minutes.
While Darren's coming up here,
Hang on.
I guess I just feel that it's important to clarify. I'd like it to stay read as Henry County and common councils of.
Yep, I think everybody understands that. Darren, come on up. Tom, could you take your mic? Please sign in, and you will have 3 minutes. And this is not a public hearing, and I apologize because it was addressed to, I am going to be, because you are the town council president of Middletown, you are the town council president, I'm assuming, of Spiceland, Darren? I'm assuming you're the president?
Yeah, has my time started?
Does now.
So Darren Jacobs, Town Council President of Town of Spiceland. I'll also mention that I have 2 other board members with me. I appreciate your time. A couple points that I want to bring up. I know it's been mentioned multiple times about state code. State code also states powers for county municipal planning commissions, advisory, the legislative body of a municipality located in the county having an advisory plan commission may by ordinance designate that that county plan commission as the municipal plan commission. Such ordinance may also provide that the County Board of Zoning Appeals has jurisdiction within the corporate boundaries of the municipality. A county plan commission so designated for the municipality has all the powers and duties granted under the advisory planning law to a municipal planning commission. Any municipality designating a county plan commission as its municipal plan commission may contract annually to pay the county. The county shall appropriate those payments. My point is here that when you keep referencing the state code allows, and in this case, these towns, including the town of Spiceland, have designated this body as our plan commission. We all agree on that. There's no issue with that you're the advisory plan commission. What it doesn't say is that the commissioners come with it. It's like getting married and having your in-laws move in with you. That wasn't the arrangement. The arrangement was that this body works as the planning board for these municipalities. Not that we get as kind of been added here, a possible say in it that the commissioners then can override. We understand that we can do our own plan commission, and that may be an option that we look into in the future. But we're a smaller community, as is Middletown and other communities, and there is a benefit to having this body, which is here, that the public can come and speak to, that you deal with on a regular basis, that you act as our planning commission. I feel like we're going in the opposite direction here. As Jake mentioned, the ordinance can be changed just as easy as these rules of procedure. It is not difficult to change the ordinance, folks. This can go through you and go through the commissioners. If the concern is what is written in the ordinance, and I'll also mention that in the ordinance it says, again, that these towns have designated the planning commission as their planning body. They have established this as theirs. Designate the planning commission as their planning agency, not the county commissioners. And even under the Board of Commissioners, when it talks about in such action, when it says that you are empowered to initiate the amendments to the text and zoning maps, it also states, and to take such actions not delegated to other bodies that may be desirable and necessary to implement the provisions of this code. The current code actually allows the current rules of procedure, and so does the state code.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I do want to clear something up that was mentioned in a couple of articles, was that the county got paid by all these towns. We don't.
You get all of our permit fees. You get our permit fees.
Well, okay, I'm not arguing.
Right.
Thank you, Mr. Jacobs. I'm not gonna get into an
No,
argument,
I
but
understand.
thank you. All right,
But you
thank
do, you collect permit fees from our residents.
If I made a point of order, when I spoke, it was an answer to her.
I understand, yes, I do, and I understand that, yes, yes, yes. Oh, you do? Okay, and this will be the last one? Go ahead, come up, sign in. Okay, your time starts now.
Okay. For the record, Dave Wagner, Middletown Town Council. I understand the wording of all the proposed changes. It removes the town council from having the final say in the approval process and adds words in there requiring people to get an opinion from the town council, which ultimately you can decide to accept or reject. That is a difference in the power structure, and it kind of begs the question, what has changed to prompt this proposed change? Because from our standpoint, it's been working satisfactorily. Is there an answer to that question? Okay, but something is,
Changed in 2020,
correct.
yeah.
And something is driving the change for this now.
The only thing that's driving the change for it now is having anyone other than the commissioners make final approval does not match our ordinance for zoning. It's not recommended by the advisory planning people that it, I can read that. Just a second, I'll find it and read it. Well, it's in our standards for amendments too. I'll read that. The wisdom for amending the text of this code for the official zoning maps, which is what we're talking about, is a matter committed to the sound legislative discretion of the county commissioners and is not controlled by any one standard. In making their determination, however, the county commissioners should determine whether to adopt or deny or adopt some modifications of the recommendation, giving reasonable regard to, among other things, it has a list of things about property values, growth, etc. Sometimes the wishes of a community, which I don't want to take anything away from any community at all. I'd like to see the communities participate more in what happens within the community. But sometimes what may be on the surface, what a community wants, might not be the best for other areas of the county that could benefit, or might be detrimental to other parts of the county, maybe even ones right next door to a town limit. That's why it goes to the commissioners to take a bigger look at things.
Well, I'll just conclude by saying that I submit that the representatives of the town of Middletown have a better feel for the pulse of what the citizens of Middletown want than the county commissioners do.
I think there's some validity to that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So Jake made a motion, Dell made a second. In this discussion, I think we need to kind of pull back before we just start saying, let's put this all back together. I would like, I'm just going to say I would like for, because Darren brought some stuff up as far as state law, I would like for Sean to do a little more research to make sure that everything is being done correctly. That's where I stand. I'm not going to ask you, Jake, to pull your motion, but I think that we need to, before we start amending this, I think we need to have a little bit more research by Sean as far as what the proper procedures should be. Yeah, I know. I'm just saying that I think that with all the information that we have received today, I think my personal opinion is amending this right now is premature, because I think that we need to get a little bit more information as far as code and all of that, based upon all the information that we have today.
On the surface, Sean, I mean, if we was to pass this amendment, then we would just have to bring the ordinance up to match the language. Is that correct? Wasn't that one of the, we're changing it now so it lines up with the language in the ordinance. And if we was to accept this amendment, then we would just need to change the ordinance so it lines up with our rules of procedure. Without having spent the time to look into that, because
if those lines are changed, I will have to change some other things in the rules of procedures that I'm not gonna change right now because I have to do a little math and a little figuring.
Well, this is the first I've never made a motion and get seconded and not get voted on in the same meeting, so.
Well,
Well, I haven't gotten
we haven't gotten that far yet. We're still in discussion.
But you were asking, you stated.
I was just stating,
That you wanted to postpone.
well, this is part of the discussion. That doesn't mean that doesn't mean it's going to happen. That's just part, because I think that there's been information that's been brought up that may need to be researched before we make these changes. Yes, Dale?
Question. Gentleman here brought up a pretty important question, and I'm not for sure if I understand everything you're saying, Tom, about why this was brought up before or now. If we were not had no problems in the past, why are we talking about it now? And what you're saying, I'm not sure that's justified to make these changes.
It doesn't match our ordinance. The way the rules of procedures were changed doesn't match our ordinance. And rules of procedure are supposed to follow the ordinance. I'm not saying that changing the ordinance is out of the question. It's kind of a chicken or the egg thing. The rules of procedure are supposed to follow our ordinance.
But I'm saying, has there been a problem
No,
that has caused you to bring this to light?
not really, except that it doesn't match. There could be a problem later on.
So in 2020, when we adopted these changes, we just missed a step by not updating the ordinance. Because if we would have updated the ordinance in 2020 to follow the changes that you guys decided on in 2020, then there wouldn't be a discrepancy at all.
That's probably true.
And you weren't zoning administrator then.
No,
Nobody voted on the rules.
I did.
I didn't say that.
I did. Yep.
I didn't say you didn't.
Yep. No, I did. I never said I didn't either.
Nope, nobody said it.
Well, Madam Chairman, you do have a motion in the second.
I do.
Mr. Ron, you're down to vote on it.
I'm just making sure that we've been having discussion. Thank you. Is there any more discussion? Okay,
Well,
go ahead, Terry.
being one of the new guys, I'll just ask this again. I mean, I hear what's being said, and I guess I do agree that I would tend to want to have the towns to have the control that they have. Yeah, it may not meet the master plan of the commissioners, but I mean, we deal with this all the time. We make decisions that don't agree with maybe a lower, group in the hierarchy of things, but it's the same situation here. So if I guess what we're voting on, are we going to allow the towns to have that control, or are we going to give it to the commissioners? Like, if I understand what Tom is saying, where he's got the overriding thing. I'm not sure really where this is going. We've got a lot of changes. We're changing the changes. Just want to make sure what the end result is. Maybe it's the easiest way to say it. What's the end result going to be if we do what JR is saying?
If we have passed this amendment that I proposed, then the language that gives the town the final say will be in the rules of procedure for us to accept or deny at the next month's meeting.
Because then we just got to go back and change the ordinance.
Well, that might be oversimplified, because if that part gets changed, there will be some other changes that will come back next time. Which is, okay.
Okay, let's do any other discussion? I want to make sure I hit everybody. Okay, Sean, you want to take a roll call vote?
So I would state that Mr. Martin's motion is to maintain the language in Article 3, Section 2 that was redlined, maintain the language in Article 3, Section 4 that was redlined, and to delete the addition of paragraph, or Section 5 on page 2. That's
We're voting on what JR made his motion and you seconded.
So again, it's to keep the language that was redlined in section 2, to keep the language that was redlined in section 4, and to delete 5 from the top of page 2. That's his amendment. We're not voting on the whole thing tonight, we're just voting on this amendment that he proposed. You got a first and second, okay? Dale Cole.
Yes.
Bobby Plummer.
I'm going to vote no, only because I made the statement earlier. I would like for Sean to have more information before I can make a valid decision. So actually, I'm going to change that, and I'm going to abstain. Because I think we need more information.
Marcia Granner. You abstain. Mr. Roberts, absent.
No, he is here.
I'm sorry, Mr. Roberts.
Yep,
There he is.
he's right here.
Second, Mr. Roberts. Abstain. Mr. Fisher. Yes.
Yes, he voted yes.
Lori Pritchett. Mr. Martin. Yes. Mr. Manning.
I'm going to vote yes and kind of elaborate that I assume that you're still going to probably research it, and if there are issues that we can address them and still probably make changes. So I'm a yes, though.
I have 4 yeses, 4 abstain, and 1 person not present. You're free to revisit this issue at the next meeting as well. Without a majority of
Okay. So I would suggest that Sean, that you do your thing and bring us all of the information so that we can make informed decisions. All right. And correct. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So I don't want to move forward on anything that we don't have 100% of the information forward. All right, so we will move on. Is there any new business?
I have nothing.
Okay, without that, Dale, what's your last thing to do? Motion to adjourn. I have a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?